steps is commitment. 3 steps, I'm not done yet. Draw my other leg up, and the pace is set. And the pace is set. Gotta believe in what's real. You gotta go with what you know. You can leave here with a good feeling. You let them know you told them so. 1 step, I make an imprint. 2 step, know what I need. Gotta live 3 steps, I'm not done yet. Draw my other leg up, and the pace is set.
Major League Baseball on ESPN2, brought to you by the Home Depot. It is opening day. Welcome, everybody. Turner Field in Atlanta is the site. The Montreal Expos and the Atlanta Braves open their 2003 seasons. No matter what the weatherman says and no matter what the calendar says, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to spring. It's the opening day, 2003 Major League Baseball. Hello, everybody. I'm Gary Thorne, along with Jeff Brantley. Delighted to have you with us here in Atlanta. For Montreal, they will be without Vladimir Guerrero, 2-game suspension. He is out of there, but they've got another all-star at second who will be in the game.
Well, Vidro brings a lot of equipment to this lineup. Switch hitter, puts the ball in play, short and quick, to the point. Facing Maddox, you've got to be short and quick because he's going to be doing a lot of changing speeds today.
He will be in the lineup, and of course, when you've got Greg Maddox on your staff and it's opening day, is there any question about who will be the starting pitcher?
Well, when you're 6-0 lifetime and never lost on opening day, I don't think there's much of a question, but Greg Maddox is the consummate pitcher. Using X's on the outside part of the plate, sinks the ball to the plate, slides the ball off the plate. I love to watch this guy pitch because he does it the right way all the time.
Never lost an opening day start. Greg Maddox, can he go 7-0 in opening day starts? He'll try and do that today, and he'll have some help. The outfield, Sheffield and the Jones boys, Chipper and Andrew. Home runs galore. We'll see if they start any of that today.
ESPN2's Opening Day Baseball, presented by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And in part by Long-Lasting Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside? By Papa John's Pizza. Better ingredients, better pizza. And by Quick Creek Concrete, celebrating opening day of baseball and the do-it-yourself season.
To a standing ovation, the Atlanta Braves take the field opening day, presented by the Home Depot. Montreal Expos and the Braves open up their 3-game set during our broadcast from Turner Field today. We'll talk about Cy Young, maybe the greatest pitcher ever, and Greg Maddox. We'll talk about Chipper Jones, second season in left field, how he feels about that, and about the kid. He's going to the Hall of Fame, the Montreal Expos, the team that he will represent induction this July. There is Frank Robinson, the skipper of the Montreal Expos, back for a second season with this team that is owned by Major League Baseball, and a team that finished second in the National League East last year behind these Atlanta Braves, with a lineup that has many returning players and good ones, and many of them still very young. A talented lineup without Guerrero in it because of the suspension, Jeff.
Well, they do have a lot of young guys in this lineup, but sooner or later you've got to be able to step up, and the guy that they're counting on really stepping up is Brad Wilkerson. Runner-up for the Rookie of the Year last year to Jennings, but this guy can swing the bat, and he's going to be counted on to provide a left-handed force in this lineup.
And on the mound with that perfect 6-0 on opening day and 7 opening day starts, there is Greg Maddox.
The Mad Dog. I love to watch him pitch. The guy's going to work on both sides of the plate all day long, and you'll watch. He's going to keep guys off balance, and he's not a guy that's going to overpower you with a fastball or any of his breaking stuff. It's just that he's a pitcher, on and off, in and out. That's just how he does it.
Backed up by this defensive unit, the regulars in the outfield, the infield regulars too, and at short.
Well, Rafael Furcal is a guy I love to watch play in the game. He's got all of the tools, really a quick-footed shortstop. He's got a great arm. The best play that he makes is the one in the hole, and you really get to show off his arm.
Play ball. Hey, he threw a strike. Can you believe that?
What a doubt.
So Maddox kicks it off. First strike thrown. There's Endy Chavez, one of the young players we were talking about. It's gotten all the way up to 60 degrees here for the first pitch of this ball game. Mostly clear skies, a lot of sunshine, winds blowing from left to right, but usually don't impact on a lot of fly balls because the stadium's high enough to protect it. They'll have about 40,000 on hand. You need a sweater or a light jacket if you're in the shadows here at Turner Field. Chavez takes that one to right field down the line. This will be a run. Sheffield over, gets there, and makes the catch. What a play. Sheffield dropped it going to third base. Chavez, he's got a triple. It is a triple. Sheffield got there, and he's not getting up. In the right field corner, third pitch of the game. He had it in the webbing of the glove, did not control it, fell out, and he fell down.
But it looked like as he caught the ball went into the web of the glove, and it looked like he was going to come down with the ball, but as he hit the ground, his left elbow hit the ground and jarred the ball loose, and that's the same time I think he hit his neck on the fence. I think that's what they're worried about. A lot of times you get guys going back full speed into that fence, and you hit it, you're out of control, and the worst thing that you worry about is your neck hitting that fence.
Jeff, this is not the way you want to start a season for any team. If you got one of your stars, you're already down 2 pitchers. Boy, he almost had that long enough to count as a catch.
Well, he made a great effort just to get to the ball, number one. I don't know that Maddox wants to make an 0-2 pitch like he did right there to the leadoff hitter, but you see that left elbow as it comes down onto the ground. That ball just comes right out.
Good call by Brian Gorman. First base umpire was running down the line with Sheffield.
A lot of outfielders will use bigger gloves so that they can reach out and catch that ball just barely in the web. But the thing about it is the bigger that your glove is, the less strength that you have at the end of the glove. And a lot of times you get some of those snow cone catches just like that was, and you don't have enough strength to be able to close the glove when you impact the ground.
So a triple for Endy Chavez to start the game. Sheffield with the right side of his head is what they were looking at in the outfield. Bobby Cox, the manager, went down there along with the trainer, and Andrew Jones came over, and it probably shook him up more than anything else as Cox heads back, breathing now.
That's a wake-up call for you right off the bat.
Huh? Man, oh man. Great attempt, but couldn't get it. So now Maddox has got to work with Endy Chavez on at third base with a triple, and the switch hitting Jose Vidro, the all-star second baseman, standing in. Vidro first ball hitting down the left field line. A lot of sun. Jones will make the play, tagging. Here's the throw. Chavez coming, and Montreal has their first run of the 2003 year 1-0 Expos.
Well, we've seen 4 pitches by Greg Maddux. 3 of them have been swung at. I think that's part of what we're going to see all day long today. Greg's going to be around the plate. He's going to throw a lot of strikes, but this Montreal ball club, a lot of young hitters, they're going to be swinging the bat. They're going to be trying to put the ball in play, and I know a lot of them are going to try to hit the ball the other way to guard against Maddux, bringing the ball back to the outside corner against him with his off-speed pitches.
So Jose Vidro picks up the first RBI and a 1-0 lead. That one, first ball off the bag, and Ron Callaway will make a turn and go for second. Here's Sheffield's throw, not in time. And Callaway, who's going to get starts while Guerrero is out on the suspension, goes after the first pitch. First major league hit is a double. The ball will be thrown into the dugout. He'll take that one home with him, and he gets it off Greg Maddux.
Love to be able to call home and tell Mom you got your first hit off of Greg Maddux. But you see this pitch right here. It looks like a cutter that Maddux is trying to run in on him, and he'll do that a lot of times, especially late in the ball game, to try to get guys to roll over pitches. But Callaway does a good job keeping his hands inside the ball, keeps it fair down the right field line.
Now Will Cordero, one down, runner on at second base. Pretty good start in the first inning for the Montreal Expos.
Well, the Expos are going to have to be able to play small ball. These guys are going to do a lot of sacrifice bunts. They're going to try to move runners over, and I'm sure this is what Cordero is trying to do right here, is be able to hit the ball the other way to get a runner to third base.
Outfield playing straight away on Will Cordero. This Montreal lineup has a number of hitters who have been very successful against Maddux with a lot of at-bats. I mean, this is a tough lineup, even though Greg Maddux has gone 23-15 lifetime against the Expos. He beat them once last year, went 1-0. This lineup features some hitters he'd just as soon not see every day.
If you're going to beat Greg Maddux, you've got to hit early in the count. The last thing that you want to do is let him get ahead of you and then throw his changeup or his breaking ball or sink the ball off the plate.
Breaking ball right there, swung at, and he's gone. First strikeout for Maddox.
If you can get the Maddox early in the count, you can stay away from a slider like this. This ball starts in the middle of the plate and it follows a sinker that ran in on Cordero's hands. Well, if you're looking for a ball and trying to protect against a bell ringer on the inside part of the plate, the last thing that you're thinking about is being able to hit that slider, and that was a great pitch right there.
No ball, 7 strikes thrown so far. That's what you're talking about, Jeff. Come up to hit because you're going to get strikes. Here's Wilkerson. Takes the pitch outside for a ball. Runner at second base now with 2 down. Numbers last year, including the .370 on base percentage that he put up. And Brad Wilkerson, 6 for 15 lifetime off Maddox. Fastball away, and the count goes to 2-0.
Wilkerson is really good about driving the ball the other way. I noticed in batting practice today, most of the cuts that he took were trying to hit the ball to the left side, hitting the ball the other way. And what that allows him to do is to be able to stay back on a changeup. He hits the fastball the other way, stays back so he can connect with a changeup, because he's going to see a lot of off-speed pitches today from Maddox.
He only hit .248 with runners in scoring position last year. One of the only negative numbers that Wilkerson had last season in his rookie year. Put up some really fine offensive numbers, trying to find a place in the outfield for him, left field for the 25-year-old. Maddox, 2-1 delivery. Runner at second. That's going to be a base hit. Big jump Callaway, up with it Andrew Jones. Throw will come into the cutoff man, and it's 2-0 Montreal. The RBI for Wilkerson, and a big 2-out hit in the first inning.
You mentioned last year his batting average with runners in scoring position. The best thing about Wilkerson is being able to take early in the count so he can get a pitch like that he can drive. When you're a youngster, the last thing that you want to do is wait, especially when you got guys in scoring position. And I think that's part of what they're trying to do with him this year, maturity-wise, is stay with your own game. Stay back on the ball. Make sure you get a pitch that you like. Even if there are guys at second and third, you're still good enough hitter to wait till you get a pitch that you can hit. And he did right there off a great pitcher.
2 runs on 3 hits in the first inning off Greg Maddox. Now Wilkerson at first base. Maddox throwing over with Cabrera, the shortstop of the Montreal Expos, at the plate.
One thing about hitting against Greg Maddox is you want to be able to get him early, not only in your individual at bats, but in the ball game. As Maddox goes along, he's going to get sharper and sharper. These are runs early that the Expos have got to have if they're going to have a chance to win this ball game.
That one is hit well to left field, way back at the wall. Goodbye, home run! A 2-run homer. Orlando Cabrera in a 4-run first inning against Maddox for the Montreal Expos.
You come to the plate, you're very aggressive. You see some of these pitches that Maddox has thrown. The ball to Wilkerson was up in the zone. This ball right here to Cabrera is up in the zone. And even if you're up in the zone, it doesn't matter how good of a pitcher you are. When you leave the ball up in the zone, especially when guys are being aggressive, and you see this fastball right here, you're not going to see Maddox very many times during the season leave a ball that's chest high, that's 85 miles an hour right over the heart of the plate.
Rarely does he give up home runs. That one down to third on the ground by Fernando Tatis. Castilla makes the play, but 7 batters for the Montreal Expos in the first inning. They get 4 runs on 4 hits off Maddox and a 4-0 lead. Montreal Expos with a 4-0 lead. For Kyle flied to left to lead it off. Robert Fick, though, who's going to be the first baseman for the Atlanta Braves this year, has delivered the Braves' first hit with a single. He is on now at first base, 1 down, and Gary Sheffield at the plate.
I don't think that you would ever anticipate that you would say a 4-0 lead for the Montreal Expos with a day with Greg Maddox pitching on opening day.
Hey, how about this, Jeff? I mean, we're talking about that here, and look what's going on in New York. There's Glavine and Maddox on opening days having some pretty tough first innings.
Well, both of these guys are notorious for being slow starters, not only in their ball games, but in the beginning of the year. Glavine probably a little bit better than Maddox early in the season, but these guys work on finesse, and it takes a little while to get that down.
Tony Armas on the mound. Sheffield pops that one up. It'll be back behind the screen. A 1-ball, 1-strike count. There is Tony Armas, opening day starter because of Montreal injuries.
Tony Armas has got as good a stuff as most any pitcher in the game. It's just a matter of harnessing it, being able to throw strikes, and being able to throw quality strikes instead of just rearing back and seeing how hard you can throw it. This guy's got a great slider. As long as he's locating his fastball and keeping the ball down in the zone, he can be just as successful as anybody.
Javier Vasquez probably would have started, but a strained calf muscle has kept him out. That one chopped foul outside of third base, so Armas gets the start. Jeff, talking to some of the Montreal people when they were talking about Armas, they said the one thing that has impressed them in camp this spring over last year is that Armas has matured as a player and as a person. I mean, this guy, when it was a close pitch called a ball last year, he used to go out of his mind, and then he'd just lose it.
Well, I'm gonna leave that open until we get into the season a little bit. Spring training is real easy to calm your nerves and try to set a new precedent.
Went outside with that pitch behind first base. Second baseman Vidro can't find it. That's going to be dropped. Still a play at second base. There won't be one here. In no man's land in that sun. Vidro, the second baseman, couldn't find it. Callaway, the right fielder, was too far away to get it. And Cordero, the first baseman, over his shoulder, couldn't make the play.
Vidro there has got to be able to continue on towards the path of the ball. You see him stop trying to look for it instead of continuing to break towards the ball. That's got to be the second baseman's ball. And regardless of whether you lose it in the sun or not, you've still got to continue on watching your first baseman and watching your right fielder come in so you can get to the general area where the ball might be. That way you can pick it up later on.
They will call that a base hit, and not unfairly so, even though it should have been played. A tough play, and nobody saw it. So there are runners at first and second now. And here is Chipper Jones, the switch hitter, batting left at the plate. And Armas in trouble with one down and two on, 2 hits off him. Recall the lead runner at second base.
The one thing about Armas, we talked a little bit about his presence on the mound. He's got to be able to continue to pitch even though he has runners in scoring position. It's very easy to pitch when nobody's on base. That's not the tough time. The tough times are when you get in positions like this, balls you think should be caught, whether they should or should not, you've still got to be able to have that presence on the mound.
Chipper Jones takes a fastball for a strike. One of the game's great stars, a .309 career batting average coming into the season for the 30-year-old former third baseman, now left fielder of the Atlanta Braves. And as you saw, among the top 10 in hitting and among the top 10 in many offensive categories again last season. 1 ball, 1 strike count. And off the fists and back, 1 and 2.
Gary, you've got to believe a little bit from last year. Chipper's slow start had to be the transition from going from third base into the outfield. I don't think he'll admit to it as much as we see it from outside of the playing field, but this guy has always been a very tough hitter and a very productive hitter, but that move to the outfield took a lot away from his production in the first half of the season.
He's waiting with runners at first and second. Armas with a 1-2 delivery to him is fouled off. There are the numbers pre and post All-Star break, Jeff, on Chipper Jones last year.
The one thing about Chipper that you always fear as a pitcher is the fact that he can drive the ball out of the ballpark at any given time. And last year in the beginning of the season, yes, he did have 9 home runs, but he wasn't able to drive the ball like he did in the second half of the season.
A great clutch hitter. 1-2 delivery to him. Fastball taken inside. Chipper Jones last year with a 100 RBIs. He had a .301 average with runners in scoring position for the Atlanta Braves. And a real tough middle part of the order. One of the best in baseball. When you got Sheffield, Chipper Jones, Andruw Jones, the 3 of them in the middle producing home runs and RBIs. The primary part of this Atlanta offense. 2 ball, 2 strike delivery. And that one off the fist, shallow left center field. Chavez coming, shortstop. Cabrera makes the play. And there are 2 down. Let's take a look at the entire Atlanta lineup here on this opening day. And this is the way it will be set probably for much of the year. Blanco will be the catcher for Maddox.
Well, this lineup I think is going to be even better with a more mature Furcal at the top of the order, and now you've got Robert Fick, which is going to give you some consistent production at first base. This guy played in Detroit last year. I can't imagine a tougher place to play because of all the things that were going on in Detroit at the time, but this guy can hit. He was born to hit. I don't know that he was born to play first base, but this guy can swing the bat, and I think when you've got a speedster like Furcal at the top of the lineup and you add Fick to the mix, then you get to the guys you mentioned later. It's going to be tough for opposing pitchers.
Now looking for the big 2-out hit will be Andrew Jones with runners at first and second and 2 away now. Maddox had first pitch strikes on 6 out of 7 in the first. Armas has not thrown a first pitch strike yet, as he's trying to get the Atlanta hitters to go after pitches out of the strike zone on that first delivery. 1-0 delivery, fastball, blew it by him.
Well, I would venture to say that the tools that Andrew Jones possesses are at least enough to make him an MVP candidate every year, every time we start on a day like today. I think the difference between Andrew Jones being an MVP and just being another good center fielder is Andrew Jones. In his mind, if he makes up his mind to go out and play the game the way it's supposed to be played every single day, this guy can be an MVP candidate.
Drives that ball towards the gap in left center. Chavez backing up, shading his eyes, will put it away. So Armas works through it, no runs on a couple of hits. 2 are left on base, 1 complete. Opening day in Atlanta. The Expos up by 4. Welcome back to Atlanta. A lot of great baseball to come your way. We want to remind you, coming up on ESPN at 4, we'll have Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, their new home ballpark opening up. ESPN 2 at 4 will be in St. Louis, where Milwaukee opens. And ESPN 2 tonight in Toronto, where the Yankees will open their season. That's all coming up on ESPN and ESPN 2. Greg Maddux, Michael Barrett takes a strike. Barrett doing the catching. He'll be followed by Armas and then Chavez at the top of the order. Barrett, 26 years old, 263 career average. Maddux down low with that. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Barrett's the one guy on this team that's got to speak English, Spanish, and Japanese to be able to do his job behind the plate. He's got a different task this year.
And he grounds at the third. Castillo was playing in a little bit. Double pumps. Barrett is retired. We were looking at the picture of Cy Young, after whom the award is named. Who has never won a Cy Young award or should have? Cy Young. Greg Maddux has won 4 of them. You take a look at the numbers. We're not saying Greg Maddux is Cy Young, but at this day and age, 15 consecutive years with 15 or more wins in each season. Those are the only 2 guys ever to do it.
Well, I think that's enough said, I guess you could say.
Can you imagine pitching the number of games, though, that Cy Young pitched? I mean, my Lord. He had more losses than most guys ever have starts. Armas grounds it third. Castilla, who's a great Gold Glover down there. And there are 2 down.
What I can't understand, Gary, is what do they do about a sore arm back there?
Pitched.
Exactly.
Right?
That must be.
Well, when you read those stories, you know, we've read great baseball stories, listened to the old timers talk about it. There were, like, you know, when you had 6 teams, 8 teams, you had 9,000 guys behind you waiting to play. If you didn't go out and play that day and you came out, you might never go back in. So you played.
You just had to make something up for that day.
And that's what they did. Here's Chavez, who led this ball game off with a triple that went off the glove of Sheffield, who collided with a wall in right and fortunately was okay, and scored the first run of the season for the Montreal Expos. And this guy can bunt too. Yes, Wally Pipp. When we start talking like that, the name Wally Pipp always comes up. Of course, that was the man who decided he needed a day off, and the guy who played first was Lou Gehrig that day, and that was the end of that story.
Wally had a lot of days.
Strike taken on the inside corner by Edney Chavez.
Frank Robinson was telling me before the ball game that he feels like Endy Chavez has as good a bat control as any young kid at this stage of his career has. You got a guy in the leadoff spot, he's got to have some bat control.
Boy, he has that. That one popped up, and that will end up in the seats, third base side. They are very high on this player, 25 years old. Frank Robinson likes guys who know how to play the complete game, all parts of it, and Chavez is one of those who can do that.
Well, he's got some presence at the plate, which allows them to put some pressure on pitchers and on infielders with his speed.
Maddux rifles it over, and a 1-2-3 inning. So typical. The Maddux would be touched up in the first inning. 4 runs, 4 hits, comes right back. 1-2-3 in the second. You'll be coming to see me play. I'll be just like Chipper Jones. I'll be able to play anywhere on the field. In a tough division, we might add.
Parity-wise, it's going to be the best division in baseball. I think with the amount of pitching that is in this division from top to bottom, it's going to be an outstanding division. We are going to have to play extremely well to win our 12th division title.
Not many people disagreeing with that. Marcus Giles up, takes Armas's pitch outside, 1-1.
There's great pitching in this division, but if you look throughout baseball, it just seems to be there's a lot of great young arms. And I know a few years back we were talking about the lack of arms in the big leagues, and now it seems as though we've got pitching staffs now where we're talking about pitching staffs being able to compete with the Atlanta Braves day to day, pitcher by pitcher.
This Montreal staff isn't far behind that. They've got some outstanding pitchers. Vasquez, Armas, who will both be appearing in this series. 1-2 delivery. Staying outside to him and missed with it. 2-ball, 2-strike count to the second baseman of the Atlanta Braves. Marcus Giles gets the job to start the season. 24 years old. 2-ball, 2-strike count. Armas takes a little movement on that one, down and away, gets a strikeout, and we'll check in again with Trey Wingo. Trey.
All right, Gary, Jeff, you know, you guys had Greg Maddux struggling early, giving up 4 runs. Maybe Glavine and Maddux are closer than we think. In his first start at Shea for the Mets, Moises Alou ropes a triple off the left center wall. 2 runs come in, and just like Maddux, Glavine gives up 4 in the first. Gary and Jeff, happy opening day.
And to you, Trey. Little synergy going there between the two guys, maybe?
I don't know about synergy.
Castilla fouls it back. Tommy Glavine, of course, the big 1-2 punch here in Atlanta over the years with Maddux. There are the numbers on the 2-time Cy Young Award winner, now with the Mets signing as a free agent.
You know, as good as these guys have been, talking about Maddux and Glavine, there's only so long that a human being can continue to go out and pitch and play this game. Some point in time there's got to come to an end, and if you take both of them out at the same time, it's going to be detrimental not only to this ball club but to this franchise. I think that there had to come a point in time where you separate the two. Somebody had to part ways. It just happened to be Glavine.
He jammed him, and that ball is going to be caught. That stayed up in the air pretty good. Chavez went over and got it. Castilla is retired, and there are 2 away here in the second inning as Armas gets the first 2 Braves.
That's the one thing that Vinny Castilla has got to do more and more. Instead of getting around the ball like he's done in the past, got into a habit of that in Colorado, because all you had to do was get the ball in the air and the ball would fly. In order to be able to hit consistently on an everyday basis, especially with your hands slowing down, you've got to be inside the ball, and that's what he did right there.
Javi Lopez gets the day off, the man who'll dominate behind the plate for the Atlanta Braves, and Henry Blanco is doing the catching with Maddux on the mound. 31-year-old veteran catcher takes the pitch down low, and the count goes 2-0 on him.
Guess that's the benefits of being Greg Maddux's personal catcher, is you get to start on opening day.
Pretty much know you'll be in there. You, like the pitcher, will have a rotation to follow, and early on in the season it'll be a 4-man rotation that'll be used by the Atlanta Braves. They've got 2 of their starters down, and Bird and Hampton. Hampton went on just this past weekend as he ended up, after running on a treadmill, feeling the groin pull. So Mike Hampton, the newly acquired, and that one's troublesome for the Braves. 2-1 delivery. You just don't know how long that kind of an injury is going to take before he can get back.
Well, both Bobby and Leo Mazzoni were a little stressed that this has happened to Hampton. It's one thing to get an injury on the field. It's another thing to get it on the treadmill when you're trying to get your work in. But I think when you look at this pitching staff overall, if you've got 5 guys, which I think once they're healthy, they're going to have 5 guys that they can run out there that are going to give them quality starts every single time. Hampton was throwing the ball very well towards the end of spring training. I think they think he's finally gotten over that hump a little bit and gotten over that Colorado Rockitis that he had for the few years there.
And that's going to be taken up high, and boy, there is one thing you hate doing. He had a chance to get the side 1-2-3 and have the pitcher leading off the next inning. Instead, Armas walks the number 8 hitter.
Those are things that young pitchers make mistakes at without, instead of trying to make a number 8 hitter put the ball in play, he's trying to strike him out with the pitcher on deck. Go ahead and throw a strike, take your chances. If he takes you deep, it's still 4-1. But the biggest thing is being able to throw strikes. The last thing you want to do against these Braves is walk people.
Maddux, who loves to get up there and take some hacks, fouls that one off, and an 0-1 count on Maddux. 4-4 for the Expos. 4 runs, 4 hits. No runs, 2 hits so far for the Braves. Last year, A couple of RBIs in the 11 for 59 that he had at the plate. He did not go deep into games last year, so Maddox's at-bats were cut down. Became a 5-inning pitcher. First time he didn't get to 200 innings in a long time. And first time he did not have a complete game.
When you start messing with the back injury and the leg injuries, that's when it starts biting into your innings, and that's what Maddox faced a lot of last year, is some early season back problems.
179 career hitter, has had 4 major league home runs. Goes after that one that was outside. Vidro will go to first and get the out. No runs, no hits. A base runner left on. Middle of the order coming up from Montreal. Well, the fans covering up here in the shade, keeping cool on the 60-degree opening day for the Braves. A 4-0 lead for the Montreal Expos in that first inning. Little paper coming down on the field here. The home plate umpire Ed Montague wants to get taken care of before Wilkerson stands in. The Atlanta Braves won the series last year 13-6 against the Montreal Expos. The Expos ended up finishing 19 games behind the Braves in the East, finishing second though as the Braves went on a tear in the middle of the season and put away the division early. Wilkerson up there now. He popped out, or rather singled, and picked up the RBI his first time up. 1-0 delivery to him from Maddox. Is foul back. 1-1.
One thing that Wilkerson will find out is every AB against Greg Maddux is going to be an adventure. He's going to pitch you a different way each time that you step into the box. And as soon as you start to feel comfortable, you feel like I'm going to get this pitch, Greg does the respin and gives you that pitch.
Inside 1-1. Wilkerson has had good luck in the rookie season last year. He went 6 for 15 off Maddux and started out with a hit here, so 7 for 16 lifetime off Maddux. Left-handers hit just .232 off Maddux last year. That one in the air to left field. Chipper Jones. One down. Big blow first inning. 2 RBIs. Orlando Cabrera the name.
Fastball left it right in the middle of the plate. We haven't seen another pitch like that from Maddux since that ball went over the left field fence. Good thing.
Good thing. One down here, and here's Cabrera. They actually will shade him a bit to right field in the outfield. And he takes that one high in the air to short. Furcal with the glasses down. They're 2 away, and Maddux is on a typical Maddux roll. Want to remind you, Kyle Ravitch and Harold Reynolds, they'll be in the studio for the 14th season of Baseball Tonight. They'll get you caught up on all the day's Major League action on opening day. That'll be following the Yankees-Blue Jays game on ESPN2 coming up tonight. Full day of baseball, and glad to have you with us here on ESPN2 at Turner Field in Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves have won the last 3 season openers. Montreal has won their last 2, so something's got to give. Opening day here, day off tomorrow. These teams will then play a couple more. With Jeff Brantley, I'm Gary Thorne. A 4-run first inning highlighted by that Cabrera home run off Maddux. And that has been it. 4 runs, 4 hits. Montreal, no runs, 2 hits for the Braves. And right now Maddux is in cruise control again.
Well, you show the 4 runs that the Expos scored in the first inning, and if you've just tuned in, you would say, how in the world are they hitting that stuff right there?
That one to left center field, hit pretty hard. Andrew Jones going back. Diving, can't get to it. That'll hit off the wall. Chipper Jones will back him up. And Fernando Tatis, the third baseman of the Expos, has a 2-out double here in the 4th inning.
And this pitch here, supposed to be a slider on the outside part of the plate, spins in his hand. A lot of times coming out of spring training, even if you're Greg Maddux, your stuff is not as sharp as you'd like for it to be. This ball stays up and stays on the inside part of the plate, following a changeup down and in. Tatis was ready for it and didn't let it slide.
122nd career double for Fernando Tatis, and the Expos hoping he has a big year. The intentional pass will be given here to Barrett, the number 8 hitter, with first base open, and they'll go against Armas, the pitcher. So a little early strategy in the game by the Braves and Maddux.
You'll hear a lot of times managers talking about don't let the number 8 hitter hurt you when you have 2 outs and you have a runner in scoring position. And even with a guy like Greg Maddux, who you know has the the greatest of pinpoint control, Bobby Cox makes the decision, I'm going to take this matter out of Greg's hands. We're going to walk this guy, then we're going to go after the pitcher.
Maddox had retired 9 in a row prior to that double by Tatis, and now Armas will get a chance to help himself out. That was a pretty rough slide. Broke his belt buckle on his pants on that slide on the warning track as he went after that double that just was out of his reach.
Andrew covers a lot of ground. It looked to me like he was getting ready to dive, and he stumbled a little bit right before he got a chance to stretch his arms out for the ball.
Armas with 2 down, wouldn't you know it, a base hit. At third, Tatis is coming. Andrew Jones, the runner goes back. Jones was shallow anyway. There was no chance for Tatis to score, and he immediately got himself turned around and went back to third base.
Well, that's why with 2 outs it's so important to get a great jump at second base, because a ball like that falls shallowly in center field, no chance that Tatis is going to score there, not with an arm in center field like Andrew Jones.
Well, the strategy backfired in the sense that the pitcher got a hit. And now the top of the order with the bases loaded, Chavez, and Castilla still has to represent his ability to bunt. He's moved in at third base. Not bunting, but almost like that. Maddox will go to the plate for the force out, the easy play, and that will retire the side. No runs, couple of hits. Montreal leaves the bases loaded here in the 4th. They still have a 4-0 lead. Jones boys coming up. Skyline of Atlanta, opening day. The Home Depot bringing you opening day festivities in the ball game. Montreal Expos and the Atlanta Braves, and the Expos leading it by a score of 4-0. Now, for those of you following Major League Baseball, this is not a home game for the Montreal Expos. I just want to point that out, because this year it's going to be kind of hard to figure out when they're home and when they're on the road. This is actually an Atlanta Braves home game. Armas on the mound, and Chipper Jones, who popped out his first time up. Of course, they're going to be playing in Puerto Rico this year.
You had to throw that out there.
Well, it's going to be a tough season for him. Omar Minaya, Vice President GM of the Expos, who are owned by Major League Baseball. They hope to get ownership change taken care of by the All-Star break. Most people in Montreal, though, off the record are saying we don't think that's going to happen. Could they be back in Montreal next year playing as a Major League Baseball owned team again? Yes, they could. They don't want to be, but it could happen. Ground off. They're going to go, of course, and play 22 games down in Puerto Rico, which are going to be considered home games for them. It's not really Montreal. There's a slight geographical differential.
Slight.
And a temperature difference as well. But look at that. First 9 games on the road, the next 10 in Puerto Rico. They don't go home to Montreal till April 22nd.
Those 10 games in Puerto Rico are going to be the hitters' festive parties, because the pitchers are not going to be happy playing in that ballpark in Puerto Rico. I can tell you
flies, huh?
Right now.
And they got tough teams down there. Mets, Cubs are going to be facing them on their home field in Puerto Rico.
Colorado is nothing compared to that ball.
Ooh, Lordy. A 3-ball, 2-strike count on Chipper Jones.
I bet Sammy can hit 500 in Puerto Rico right off the bat. Right off the bat.
This year he could hit 500. Total. Frank Robinson. Not much to do but manage it day by day. Chipper Jones pops that one up. First 3-2 pitch. Shortstop. Cabrera. He's got it. Jones is retired. We'll check in again with Trey Wingo. Trey.
All right, Gary and Jeff, we want to point out this is a home game for the Mets, and they are finally on the board against the Cubs. They spotted them 4 runs, but Jeremy Burnitz ropes one just inside the line. Movan would trot in to make it 4-1. They've added another one. It's 4-2. Let's go back to a home game for the Braves, Gary and Jeff.
Very happy you were listening, Trey, because the audience needs to know.
He doesn't miss anything.
What's home and what isn't. Here's Andrew Jones, 1 down, nobody on. Flight out to center field his first time up. Couple of career home runs off Armas, the Montreal pitcher, part of the 5 for 34 that he's had against Tony Armas. Outfield, of course, very deep on him. 1-0 with a big cut. 1-1.
I think you're going to see Armas stay with a lot of breaking balls with Andrew Jones. That's the biggest thing about Andrew. The last thing that you want to do is throw a fastball anywhere close to the middle of the plate or something that he can reach with his hands.
Andrew Jones last year at 18 home runs here at home, and he had 1 last year off Armas.
Fastball down and away. Anything that Andrew can reach, especially the hard stuff, he can hit it a long way. And it doesn't matter which park or where you are or which part of the park, he can still hit it out.
That was at the Big O, which, by the way, is the home ballpark of the Montreal Expos.
For how long?
Well, at least for a few games. It was funny talking to the players and management people with the Montreal Expos. Packing at spring training this year was really interesting. 2-2 delivery. Jammed it. Popped him up again to short. Rivera's there to put it away. Because they were saying what they had to do was they had to pack a bag to go to Puerto Rico. They had to pack a bag to go on the road, and they had to pack a bag to send back home to Montreal. So not many teams can say they packed 3 bags to leave Florida.
Well, regardless of how good your ball club is, if you're going to travel that much, it makes it's a stress for you. Not only from a playing perspective, but from a family perspective. I mean, a lot of these guys have family, have kids. Where do you live? Do you live in Puerto Rico for 10 days? Come on.
Popped in the air to left center field. And Armas has a good inning. Enny Chavez puts that away. Giles is retired. He sets the side down 1-2-3. That's 7 in a row. Retired by Armas. The 4-0 lead against the Atlanta Braves in the opener. Gary Thorne, Jeff Brantley back with you here in Atlanta. And ready to go is Maddox. Jose Vidro. Did he go around? They check at third, and no. That is Brian Runge at third. Ed Montague, the senior in this crew, is behind the plate. Ryan Gorman, Bruce Streckman, and Runge are the umpires working this opening day. Vidro takes the pitch down low. Vidro is a sacrifice fly RBI and struck out swinging his last time up. An all-star second baseman and a career 280-plus hitter against Maddox. He launches that one to the gap in right center. Jones back, will not have a play. Vidro on his way to second base. And that will be a stand-up lead-off double here in the 5th inning for the Expos.
Vidro, very patient hitter. We talked about him in the open about how he waits on his pitch. You see this pitch here. Maddox has got to get a ball over the plate. He leaves it up. And every time Maddox has been up today, this is what we've seen, the back of Andrew Jones.
Vidro is a good one. Yes, this young man, 28 years old, second baseman, can play the game. And he's on with the 7th hit of the ball game for the Expos. Now Callaway coming up, the right fielder taking Guerrero's spot for 2 games with a suspension being served. And he loops that one. That's going to be a base hit into left center. Not a good jump for Vidro. Andrew Jones up with it. Vidro will be held at third. And the first 2 here in the 5th inning are on with a double and a single. First and third, nobody out.
First baseman Will Cordero.
Little nervousness in the dugout for Atlanta.
Callaway's been to the plate 3 times and he's seen 4 pitches. That tells you what they're in. He's a rookie. The only thing that he knows is Maddox is throwing strikes and I'm up here. I've got a chance to play and I'm swinging.
7 of the 9 in the lineup have had hits, including Armas, the pitcher for Montreal. Bobby Cox giving the sign down at first base with Will Cordero up. Wants Fick on that bag. Cordero has struck out twice. Strike on the outside corner, and he didn't like it.
We talked earlier about Tony Armas being able to hold a 4-run lead because that may be all that he gets. What's very important for Maddox here, even with no outs and runners at first and third, it's very important for him to be able to keep the Expos from scoring again to allow his ball club offensively to get back in this game.
Cordero, the senior man on this Montreal team, in terms of major league experience, pops that one up down the line. Giles coming over in a hurry, the second baseman on the tarp, made the play. Good catch. Cordero retired on a fine play by Marcus Giles.
Giles stayed with that ball the whole way, and he still had the presence of mind. Even though he's trying to catch a ball amongst the fans and the tarp, he still had the presence of mind that there was a runner at third base, and he was tagging. Vidro tagged, came a little bit down the line just to see what Giles' reaction would be. Saw Giles running the ball back in and retreats back to third base.
Good play to end an at-bat right there for the second baseman. Montreal now 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position today. That's the case for Wilkerson, who's had an RBI. He picked it up in the first inning with a base hit. Vidro an RBI sac fly. Wilkerson an RBI single. Cabrera The 2 RBI home run, all in the first.
This is where, as a young, inexperienced hitter, even though Wilkerson is a very solid young hitter, he's got to be very selective right here and get a pitch that he can at least lift into the outfield to score that run from third base. What Greg Maddux is trying to do right here is throw him a sinker or something that he can get Wilkerson to roll over on, get a ground ball double play, and get out of this inning.
That's why he's holding Callaway at first base. Maddux doesn't throw over to first base very often. There's a reason. That's the double play Jeff's talking about to keep it in order. That one off the inside of the bat to left. Jones tagging. Here comes Vidro. Here comes the throw to the plate. Blanco there. Got him. What a play by Chipper Jones.
Fundamentally correct. Chipper Jones got behind that ball and got a running start coming in. Allowed his momentum to get him a good throw to the plate, and Blanco blocks the plate too. Outstanding job.
And Blanco deked him a little bit too, as he just kept standing up as though the ball wasn't going to get there. That ends the inning. 4-0 Expos. Off against Armas after that fine throw by Chipper Jones to end the inning at the plate. It'll be the bottom third of the order. Castillo, Blanco, and Maddux due up. A couple of singles in the first inning by Fick and Sheffield. The only hits off Armas so far. He has walked one and struck out. That one in the air to right center field and deep. Callaway, Chavez. Chavez wants it. Callaway's there. They collide. And a catch is made by Chavez. Break there. Castilla's out. One down, fifth inning. Chipper Jones.
Chipper Jones stays back on the ball, comes in on it as the ball's getting down to his glove, gets him some momentum. Blanco comes up the line a little bit. Even though it appears that the foot got in, Blanco's up the line enough to be able to make the tag, and you can see it right here. Vidro does not get to the plate. A nice slide. Blanco is up the line, collapses on him, keeps him from scoring.
Towering pop-up by Blanco to left field this time. Wilkerson. Just like that, there are 2 down. Chipper Jones had 8 assists last year playing left field. Committed only 7 errors as he made that move from third base to left. And a fine throw on that one. His first assist this year in the outfield.
Well, he was talking about earlier about just being comfortable in the outfield, and now that he's got a year under his belt, he feels better not only in the outfield but better offensively, simply because it's not something new for him.
Armas going after Maddux. Grounded out his first time up. Armas has pitched well here so far in this game. He's been under control, thrown strikes. 9 in a row retired. He is a fly ball pitcher. That's true to what he is. And this ballpark's generous to fly ball pitchers. Breaking ball. That was a high off-speed pitch in for strike 1 and 2 to Maddux.
Generous when you have Andrew Jones in center field.
Yeah, that's right. We could chase him down. Yeah, it's a great gap ballpark, but hitting home runs here is not easy, especially for left-handers into that right center field gap that's 390 feet away. That is Death Valley here at Turner Field. Balls go there to die.
Yes, they do.
And
yes,
they do. 2-2 delivery. And Maddux fights it off to keep the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. These teams have a 3-game set. Day off tomorrow. Then it's Zach Day and Horatio Ramirez. Whoever would have thought. The starters for game 2. Javier Vasquez will be coming back for the game on Thursday against Russ Ortiz, the newly acquired starter for the Braves. Again fouled off. 2-2 count remains.
It's ironic that both of these guys will match up against each other in the second game of this series. Zach Day will probably not be in the 5-man rotation. Horatio Ramirez for the Braves most likely will be throughout the season.
2-2 delivery on the way, and Maddux goes down swinging. The second strikeout for Armas retires the side in order, protecting the Expo lead. Left field. Had a chance before the game to ask how about that left field.
Last year where I was just kind of getting a crash course again and getting my feet wet. I made a lot of mistakes early in the season, but the second half made some adjustments and took a lot better angles, hit my cutoff man when I was supposed to, and this year, you know, having a year under my belt, having played pretty well in spring training out there, I feel really comfortable. I'm just trying to stay out of Andrew's way whenever he calls it, hightailing it the other way.
And smiling when he says it, huh? That one down the line. Sheffield over. And this time he'll make the play. And Cabrera is retired, one away in the 6th.
You see Chipper Jones right here. We talked about it earlier on that throw where he threw out Vidro at the plate. He gets behind the ball, and it allows him some momentum as he comes to the plate to be able to throw the ball all the way to home, and it's right on line. When you have a throw right on line like that, Blanco can move up to third baseline and be able to cut off the distance for the runner coming in from third base.
Maddox, Tatis, first ball hitting. Sheffield in. A couple of fly ball outs, and there are 2 down here in the 6th inning. Opening day, Major League Baseball. A lot more to come on ESPN at 4. You'll see the new ballpark in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh will be there. ESPN 2 at 4 o'clock. The Cardinals with Morris against Milwaukee. And tonight, ESPN 2 at 7. The Yankees on the road. They'll be in Toronto. Roger Clemens will be making the start there for the Yankees. All coming up today and this evening. Barrett, who drew the intentional passes last time up, he has grounded out 0 for 1 on the day for the Montreal catcher. Greg Maddux, 0-1 count, 2 down. He has given up only 1 pass, the intentional walk, 3 strikeouts. Trying to continue his opening day mastery of 6-0 and 7 opening day starts. But he is now a 6-inning pitcher. So his time to remain in this game maybe dwindling down. Foul tipped. Held on to. 4 strikeouts for Maddux. Retires the side in order, but those 4 first-run innings still holding up.
Marine Corps, the change is forever.
Great to have you with us. It is always a great event, opening day at whatever ballpark. That great statue out there on top of the outfield wall and left. That one bunted by Furcal is going to be a foul ball. Believe it or not, that is one of the longest bunts you'll ever see. Laid down the left field line, but just a little bit foul, as the Hall of Fame announcer in Milwaukee might say.
I know a lot of times for Furcal, when he is trying to bunt and the third baseman comes in, he will try to take that ball and punch it right over third base. But that is very, very difficult, because not only do you have to be able to get the ball airborne, you can't get under it too much, or it's going to go to the shortstop.
Yep. 0 for 2. He has flied out, grounded out. Armas breaking ball. We're talking about Bob Uecker. Of course, we congratulate Bob, who's going to go to the Hall of Fame, most deservedly. There are so many people who can't wait to hear his speech at the Hall of Fame this year. But I bet you Bob does what he does with his broadcast. Very professional, very low key. A couple of one-liners in there, and
yeah,
he'll be gone.
He's going to have a couple.
He'll be a zinger.
Have a couple.
He'll be a zinger or 2. 1 ball, 2 strikeout. Armas's pitch, foul back. This year, of course, Major League Baseball will have 2 new inductees going into the Hall of Fame. Gary Carter, Montreal Expo cap. Eddie Murray, Baltimore Oriole cap. They will go in together.
Kid Carter was, at least he was the kid back then, probably as good of a target set up by the catcher as I've ever seen.
That one lifted. High fly ball. Way back of the wall in right. And it goes off the top. Furcal on his way to third. The throw by Callaway. Not in time. An opening triple in the 6th inning.
Love to watch Rafael Furcal run the bases. If he's going to be successful, it's going to be slapping the ball the other way. But when you do come inside to Furcal, he's got enough juice and enough bat speed to be able to drive the ball just like this. You watch Callaway right there. That's a young mistake. You get to the warning track, you don't slow down, you speed up, find the fence as soon as possible. He starts to slow up just a little bit. He starts to drift, and what happens? The ball hits off of his glove, and now he's got Armas in trouble.
First hit since the 1st inning for the Braves. Now the meat of the order coming up. Here is Fick, who has hit the ball hard twice. He got a 1st inning single and lined out to first base. Callaway misjudged that ball as well. He started in on it, then had a backtrack, and never got back there in time to find that fence and haul it in. Fick from Detroit puts that one to center. Tag at third. Chavez makes the catch. Here comes the throw. Furcal will score, and the Braves are on the board for 2003. It's 4-1.
See Robert Fick there on a ball that's away from him, trying to get the bat to it, still able to lift the ball into the outfield, get the run home from third base.
Fick, the new first baseman, of course, was with the Detroit Tigers last year. He'll be right in the thick of that offense this season for the Atlanta Braves, and he gets his first Atlanta RBI. So one down, bases are empty now. They finally get one off Armas. And here is Gary Sheffield. Sheffield a single, 1 for 2 in the ball game. He has been a notorious early season home run hitter. He can put the ball out of the yard. 65 career home runs in April. Not this time. Armas. 2 down.
Sheffield is a dead red fastball hitter, especially a ball that's middle in on the plate. The reason he's so successful in the beginning of the season, a lot of pitchers are not very sharp with their sliders. He can hit that fastball.
Score here 4-1 Expos. Trey Wingo.
Hi, everybody. Trey Wingo back with you in our baseball studios. Once again, Sammy Sosa sitting on the verge of history. 1 for 2 in his game today against the Mets at Shea. 1 home run shy of the 500th for his career, trying to become the 18th big leaguer to ever reach that plateau. Chris Berman, Rick Sutcliffe with the call at Shea.
60 home runs 3 times. Oddly enough, none of those times did he win the home run title.
You know what, though, out of everything that jumps out to me about Sammy is the fact that he plays every day and he's so consistent with those numbers.
Went down to try and, you said a 1-iron. He used more like a different sort of club. Went down fishing and didn't get that.
You know, we've seen guys that have hit 50 homers and then fallen off the following year. We've seen guys put up numbers and not be able to repeat them. Sammy can.
Well, on the 1-1 from Glavine, he has the record for most home runs in a 5-year span, 292. The last 5 years, which, by the way, is 53 more than Barry Bonds. He has the record for the most over 6-year span, a 7-year span, an 8-year span, and a 9-year span. Glavine up and out. 3-1 to Sosa with 2 out and a runner at first. 5-2 Cubs.
Art Howe holding his breath right now, knowing that the pitcher spot's due up 4th in the bottom of the 4th inning, just hoping he can get his starting pitcher that far.
Well, he was going to be careful with Sosa, but now they're 2 on again. The Cubs with plenty of runners on.
All right, so Tom Glavine pitching around Sammy Sosa. Sammy 1 for 2 with a walk in the game, still sitting on .499. We'll take you back to Shea as many times as Sammy gets up.
All right, Trey, and the Atlanta Braves are mounting a rally here. Furcal led it off with a triple scored on Fick's fly ball. Then with 2 down, Chipper Jones had a single. Andrew Jones followed up with a single. And now runners at first and third, 2 away for Marcus Giles. Armas getting his first visit from the dugout. The Braves have gone 2 for 17 through the first 5 against him. They are 3 for 4 in this inning, but still a 4-1 lead. Giles has struck out and flied to center field. Armas trying to work his way out of this one. Chipper Jones at third, Andrew Jones at first base.
Armas has got himself in trouble here, first and third, but the reality of this situation is there's 2 outs. Got the number 6 hitter at the plate. You're 1 pitch away. Get the ball on the ground.
Yeah,
be fine.
Both bullpens have seen action already today. Breaking ball, caught! What a play by Cabrera! A former Gold Glove winner at short 2 years ago saves 1 run and ends an inning right there. A run, 3 hits, 2 left on, 4-1 Montreal.
It's not simply because Chipper Jones bobbled the ball a little bit, is because he was being aggressive straight out of the box. As he rounded first base, he just kept right on going, stutter step, and kept right on going into second base. Didn't even make the play close. You can see this ball bounce a little bit. Chipper misplays it just for a second, but Mateo just keeps on running. You see that little stutter step that kept on running, and that's how you run bases. You've got to be aggressive.
It'll be a single and an error charge on Chipper Jones to move that runner down to second base. looking for the bunt, and it is a beauty. Chavez, played by Castillo, bounces away. That will score Mateo, and down to second base, Chavez. It'll be a sacrifice and an error charged on Castilla. No RBI, but a big run as the Expos now have the 5-1 lead and get that run back.
Fundamental baseball. You see Vinny come in, he barehands this ball simply because he knows Chavez can fly, but because the bunt came down third base so far, he still had a little bit more time than what he gave himself credit for.
So a couple of errors here in the 7th inning by the Atlanta Braves. Now a runner in scoring position for Vidro, who has doubled and driven in a run with a sac fly. Takes it outside for a ball. The Expos back on top, 5-1. Now 9 hits in the ball game for them. Frank Robinson has got to be liking what he has seen so far from Armas on the mound and from the way this team is playing, fundamentally sound at the plate and in the field. 1-0 delivery, a bouncer that came off the plate. Maddox will flip. Runner goes to third. Chavez with only 1 away.
Well, that's how the Montreal Expos are going to have to beat you. They're going to have to be able to hit behind runners, be able to execute sacrifice bunts, play good defense, and they've done all of those things today. But probably the biggest thing that this ball club has done is they haven't been intimidated by Greg Maddux on the mound. They've come out, they've swung the bats early in the count, and I think that's allowed them to have base runners and be aggressive.
Bullpen active, King and Grabowski. Grabowski up for the 2nd time. Keep in mind, Maddox did not have a complete game last year. Infield drawn in to try and cut off a run. Left-hander Ron Callaway, who has single-doubled in 3 times to the plate, fouls it back, strike 1.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Ron Callaway is a first-pitch fastball hitter. First-pitch hitter, period, because every time he's come to the plate, he's come swinging.
He's ready to go. He's got some power. He's looking for an RBI right here with that runner at third base, Endy Chavez. And a grounder, runner holding. Bobble, runner still holding. Fick gets it to Giles to get the out. 2 down. Tony Armas a chance to win the opener. There he is watching. A run on 5 hits. Walked only 1 and struck out 2 over 6.
That's what Greg Maddux is trying to get you to do. Roll over that changeup. Get a ground ball. Be able to hold a runner at third. In that situation, as a batter, you're trying to get the ball into the outfield, at least a ball that's deep enough to score a runner from third base with less than 2 outs.
Now Cordero, 2 down, infield backs up. Strike 1.
Young hitter, veteran pitcher.
Obviously, Bobby Cox wants to give Maddox a chance to continue that streak of opening day wins and to get a win, for that matter. More importantly here, he doesn't want to pull him out of the ball game till he absolutely has to. Maddox, though, is going to be due up in the 7th inning, so that bullpen will stay active. That one hit in the air deep to left field, down the line. It is curving foul. As Maddox would say, just a long strike.
Exactly. You watch Greg Maddux. He sinks the ball on the inside part of the plate, and a lot of times you're going to see guys rip balls into the stands or hit long fly balls like that. He'll come right back with either a sinker and let him run it right off his shoe tops, or he comes back with a slider away from it.
And a fastball to straighten the arms up a little bit. 1 ball, 2 strike count on Cordero. Maddox has struck Cordero out twice, 2 of the 4 Ks he has in the game. Maddox, who was 2nd in ERA last year with a 2.62. The Expos got 4 runs in the 1st inning, another one probably that'll be unearned here in the 7th inning. Breaking ball away. Cordero set up for that, but laid off it.
Well, he's gotten Cordero on that pitch twice early in the ball game on swing and misses. Gives him a sinker inside that he pulls. Looks like a long home run. Ends up being foul. He comes back in to re-emphasize that pitch, then tries to get him to chase that slider off the plate away.
2-2 delivery. Cordero takes the fastball that misses, and the count is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Maddox, who used to go very deep into games, of course, now at the age of 36. A pitcher who gets into the 6th, and the Braves look to maybe get him out of there. He went to the 6th inning 23 out of the 34 starts he had last year without the complete game, but went 16-6 on the year. Inside corner strike. 5 strikeouts in the game, and Cordero has been 3 of those. 1 run in, 1 hit, and a couple of errors. And the Expos have a 5-1 lead.
And the Braves invite all of our guests to please rise and sing along as we celebrate America's freedom with the playing of God Bless America.